at Madison Square Garden, getting set for the Rangers and Columbus Blue Jackets. Thursday Night Hockey is presented by Ram Trucks. And of course, as always, closed captioning is brought to you by the New York Lottery. Hey, you never know. Now we go inside the rink and check out our Audi goaltending matchup. There's Henrik Lundqvist with the schedule offering breaks in between games. The coach is going with the number one man.
Well, they should. Benoit Lair telling us before the game he's just trying to get Henrik Lundqvist to keep thinking ahead because he's so competitive. And when things don't go well, he wants him to forget about that and move on.
Sergei Bobrovsky is out, long-term injury for Columbus. Curtis McElhaney, 30 years old, has done a good job stepping in.
Sure has.
Underway, second of three meetings between these two teams. And Brandon Dubinsky opens up against his former team wearing the familiar 17. There he is here. Wrap around on the backhand stop by Lundqvist. Good job. Rick Nash opening up against his former team with Brad Richards in the middle and Carl Hagelin on the left for the Rangers. On defense, Strawman on the right side with McDonough on the left. So a little bit of a change for Coach Alain Vigneault. Moving in and scoring is Matt Calvert. A rising shot by Matt Calvert. It looked like Strawman had him checked, but quickly Columbus in the opening minute takes a 1-0 lead.
Now, you know what, Sam? Strawman wasn't in good position. He gave him too much room on that side. Now, Columbus has been working about moving the puck out of their zone and moving up the ice together. They do that. Strawman was just a step too far to the inside so that when he turned to defend, you'll see it right here. He doesn't have good positioning because he's behind him a little bit. That allows Calvert the opportunity to shoot the puck, and it was a good one.
Matt Calvert has scored goals in 3 consecutive games. Scored against Pittsburgh, against the Devils, and now against the Rangers. So Columbus grabbing an early lead. We'll see how the Rangers respond. This is, as Hal pointed out, a tough time for the Rangers, and they've got to find their game and find ways to win. On defense here, Girardi and Del Zotto, the defensive pair. So the coaching staff splitting up, and you hear the derisive cheer toward Henrik Lundqvist on the easy stop. But the coaching staff deciding to split up Girardi and McDonough, at least for the opening shift.
Well, they're trying to find better balance, and especially with the young McElrath coming in to play, I think their thinking is let's get him with one of the veteran-type players, try to make him feel comfortable early. He's on the ice now.
Making his NHL debut, number 42, Dylan McElrath.
And they start him with John Moore.
He was the 10th player chosen overall in the 2010 draft. Columbus moving up. Blake Como, the former Islander, with a big drive to stick save by Lundqvist. The puck goes up into the netting. The play stops a minute 32 seconds in. Matt Calvert scoring at 38 seconds. And there is the youngster Dylan McElrath. Boy, was he excited, telling us earlier about coming out here and playing, and his family coming in.
Mom and Dad in from Winnipeg. His girlfriend is in from Winnipeg. His girlfriend's mom and dad are in from Winnipeg. His brother is in the middle of the oil fields up in Canada. He got out of there to come in to see this particular game. It's a big night for the kid. He's worked really hard, had that major knee surgery, and Jeff Bukaboom has done a lot of work with him.
Corey Tropp, number 26, going around the net. Mark Letestu, number 55 for Columbus. McElrath working over Tropp. Fans respond to that. Letestu with a shot and a save by Lundqvist. On the Calvert goal, the assists to Kim Atkinson, to Cam Atkinson, and Fedor Tyutin. Long shot by Nikita Nikitin is stopped by Lundqvist. Columbus with a quick start. 2 minutes in, they've got 6 shots on goal.
Yeah, Sam, we're going to take a look at the goal again. Now, here's Richard. Remember, the Rangers have 2 players already in, and Richards is going to go in to try and make the play, but watch the puck. Bounces over his stick. Now, all 3 Ranger forwards get caught. Odd man rush for Columbus. And because it's an odd man rush, Strawman has to kind of stay in the middle and just bide his time.
Jack Johnson with a shot that deflects into the corner. Dubinsky against Richards. Dubinsky goes down. puck up the boards. Dubinsky is a new dad. Baby boy.
December 4th.
Congratulations,
Brady.
he and his wife. Nash moving with the puck. Joe, before the game, Alain Vigneault telling us that he wanted that third man to stay high.
Yeah.
That would be an important part of the Rangers game.
It's, again, you got to be sure you can make a play on the puck, and it's more of a bad bounce than anything right over the stick. But again, those are some of the things that have been plaguing the Rangers.
Umberger playing it across for Jack Johnson. He missed it, and Tootin takes it. Rangers. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry. And then when that happens on an odd man rush, you're a defenseman. You have to stay in the middle. You can't just move over and take your man. And that's the problem that Strawman ran into because of the odd man rush.
Offside whistle. We go between the benches where John Giannone is standing by. He's presented by Ford. Take it away, John.
And Sam, exactly to what you and Joe are talking about, that odd man rush situation. After the third shift of the game, which was only a minute and a half in, there was another 3-on-2. Alain Vigneault walked up and down the bench and said to his team, "What are we doing here, guys? What did we talk about?" Meaning the 3-on-2s, the odd man rushes that the Rangers have got to focus on.
Thanks, John.
By the way, see that guy standing next to John?
One-time Ranger.
Yeah. Jody Shelley.
Great to see him.
Doing some television work for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh, he was a very popular player in his years in Columbus. Like Como with a hit in the corner on McDonough. McDonough got up slowly as Lundqvist makes a save on another long shot. Shots a 7-1 in favor of Columbus. 3.5 minutes in.
Columbus are a hard-working team. They're the youngest team in the league. They're fourth in the league in hits. So they play, and they found their game since the last time the Rangers played them. They're just a much better team coming up the ice and making plays. There's another good play out of their zone.
And Asimov comes out, dumps it into the Rangers zone. Rangers put Taylor Pyatt and Benoit Pouliot back in the lineup. Injury to Ryan Callahan. Will be out for a few weeks. Battle behind the net. Aaron Asham is there. Now Taylor Pyatt. Dominic Moore is the center. Puck around the boards now. Comes John Moore to play it. Asham. Checked there by Nikitin. John Moore toward the net. Hit Taylor Pyatt. And the puck out of the zone to Mark Letestu. McElrath is back. Bouncing puck deflected away by Lundqvist. Dominic Moore able to move it up to Taylor Pyatt. Rangers also without Derek Brassard. Calvert backhanded toward the net. It was knocked away. Brassard out with a sore posterior.
Fell down last game. Didn't practice yesterday. I hope he was ready to go for tonight's game and not able.
Shot on goal steered away by McElhaney. Rangers have Girardi and Delzato, the defensive pair. Calvert up ahead to Atkinson. Long shot, gloved wide of the net by Lundqvist. Columbus with a 1-0 lead. 5:15 gone by in the first period. Hagelin playing it ahead. It's tipped into the zone by Zuccarello. The line of Stepan, Zuccarello, and Kreider remains together. Lito's pass goes by Ryan Johansson. Keep an eye on Ryan Johansson. He was the fourth player chosen in the 2010 draft. He is really developing into a prime player.
6'3", 220 pounds.
Fired toward the net, steered away by Murray, the defenseman.
Who was a second overall pick.
Yes.
So they've had some high draft picks.
Ryan McDonough's shot off the glove of McElhaney. Zuccarello, checked there by Savard. David Savard, number 58. Kreider. Rangers have done a good job last couple of shifts keeping the puck in the Columbus zone. Long shot save. There's a penalty upcoming. Is it going to be against Zuccarello? Oh,
yes.
They called Zuccarello for goaltender interference. I thought he might have been hit by Savard. We'll see. 6:18 gone by in this first period. Columbus a 1-0 lead and a power play coming up.
It is again. once you go into that area, boy, you've got to be, they look for any type of contact with the goaltender, even if it's marginal. And we see it called throughout the league.
So the Blue Jackets with a power play chance here, and it's taken away by Stepan, clearing it out of the zone. Stepan goes off, and Hagelin comes on with Brian Boyle. Ryan McDonough and Dan Girardi. Dubinsky moves in with Atkinson and Calvert. Jack Johnson here with the puck, and Fedor Tyutin. Johnson and Tyutin with a big shot, kicked away by Lundqvist. Tough no shot by Tyutin. Girardi lost the stick, gets it back. Tyutin's pass behind Dubinsky. Back out to Tyutin, winds up. That shot, a deflection and a save, another save. Two great saves by Lundqvist. Tyutin. Now Johnson, good pressure here by Columbus. Dubinsky off the end boards for Matt Calvert. Now Atkinson getting it back to Dubinsky. Tyutin with the puck. Blocked out of the zone by Hagelin. Rangers change all four. Under a minute to go in the Columbus power play. Columbus one power play goal in the last 4 games. Only 6 chances over the last 4 games. R.J. Umberger was stopped. And the Rangers head the other way. Dominic Moore goes in against Nikita Nikitin. Nikitin pulls it away. Moore shoots, kicked away by McElhaney. Taylor Pyatt pressuring Jack Johnson. Rangers with Delzato and Strawman. Stepan has come on with Derek Dorsett. Chopped up in the air and deflected out of play. 22 seconds to go in the Columbus power play.
Josh Richards, the Columbus coach, telling us before the game, he said, our power play, we're just kind of finding ways to get it done. Well, here's one way. The shot, deflection by Atkinson, and then the rebound. 2 real good chances by Lundqvist. Stopped the deflection, and then Atkinson was able to get his own rebound. And Lundqvist with the left shoulder. There's Todd Richards, assistant coach for Team USA in the upcoming
Congratulations
Olympics.
to him.
It's a real nice honor. He and Dan Bilesma, who is the head coach, coached together in the minor leagues for Wilkes-Barre, Pittsburgh's farm team, back a number of years ago.
There was some confusion as to where the face-off would be. Then they finally decided on the dot outside the Ranger zone. Dorsett went over to the bench to get a new stick. Stepan and Dorsett. McDonough and Girardi on for the Rangers. David Savard and Ryan Murray. There's Murray with 10 seconds to go in the Columbus power play. Brought in by Umberger. Back to Murray. Ryan Murray. Fired out to Savard. Looking. It was a pass for Umberger. Just missed. It's all the way out.
Umberger frustrated that he didn't get a stick on that one.
Zuccarello out in the penalty box. Power play is over. Columbus had 3 shots on goal on that power play. Columbus with a 1-0 lead. Nash with a long shot that went wide. Zuccarello misses. And the puck is chipped out of the zone. Oh! Richards hit Jenner. Hines going to get a penalty. Columbus moves in, and they score! Artem Anisimov on the delayed penalty call. Lifted it over Henrik Lundqvist, and the Blue Jackets have a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, Dylan McElrath got caught up on the play as well, being overly aggressive. And this was right at the blue line. See, that was McElrath that stepped up and missed on the check, just barely, on Jenner. But the puck goes the other way. Now the Rangers are trying to get back into position, and they move the puck around, and Anisimov puts it in. So McElrath takes a chance by stepping up, misses, and the puck ends up in the net down the other end.
8th goal of the season for Artem Anisimov, and the Rangers are down 2, 9 minutes into the game. For Anisimov, his 2nd game against his former team, and he scores a goal here at the Garden. Boone Jenner, number 38, lifting it out of the zone. Back for it is McElrath. Columbus with 11 shots on goal. And we've yet to reach the midway point of the period. Dalton Prout, number 47. Nikita Nikitin moves it up. Sent in by Derek McKenzie. Great start for Columbus. But the coaches knew that. The puck around the glass goes up into the netting. And play stopped.
Well, the goal again, Dylan McElrath. You'll see him right here. He's just coming off the bench. He's going to come up this way. But the other thing to watch is that the 3 Ranger forwards are already in the zone. And McElrath decides to step up. Now he gets a piece of his man, but not enough. Now it's a 3-on-1 the other way. And they turn that into the second goal. So they've been talking about better defense. Hasn't happened yet here in the first.
Stepan with a hard shot that missed the net. And brought out by Letestu. There's Derek McKenzie against Strawman. Aside by Lundqvist. Tootin. Corey Tropp, number 26, checked by Strawman.
Columbus has had a 3-on-1 and a 3-on-2, and they've scored on both of them.
Chris Kreider fires in. Rangers change. McElhaney plays it up. Lifted out by Matt Calvert. Batted down by Girardi, and a hand pass is whistled against the Rangers. 9:40 to go in the first period. Fast start for Columbus. Alain Vigneault, you can see him chewing hard on the gum. He's got to come up with something to stabilize the Rangers situation right now.
Well, it's frustrating, and John Giannone talked about it when our first hit down to him, where he went up and down the bench saying, what did we just get through working on? I mean, that was an emphasis to his team the last day in practice about just looking around to make sure you're making the right play based on where your teammates are. All you have to do is move your head. Quick move of the head, side to side, and they've given up the 2 odd man Russians that Columbus has scored on both of those.
Quick shot by Brian Boyle is stopped by McElhaney, and he covers up. 9:26 to go in this first period. Tomorrow night on MSG, the Knicks take on the Celtics on Friday night. Knicks, presented by Dodge. Coverage gets underway with Visa. Knicks game night at 7. Then it's the Knicks and the Celtics tomorrow night on MSG Network.
And Sam, the other thing that's happened too, because of those defensive mistakes, and we've seen it the previous 2 games, the Rangers aren't getting any scoring chances.
Right.
They're just not getting quality chances. So for McElhaney, thus far this first, a little over half of this first period, it's been easy for him.
Rangers have Richards, Nash, and Hagelin on with Strawman and Delzato. So that pair put together. We'll likely see McDonough and Girardi back together. Delzato trying to move it against Nick Foligno. Ryan Johansson swings it around. Umberger gets to it. Checked by Strawman. The puck through to David Savard. The shot, he scores! He picked the top corner. And it's 3-0 Columbus, and we'll have a goaltending change. Wow.
Well, this time, the Rangers had too many players over on the other side. And the wing on the short side was Hagelin. He got caught too far over, and it goes right back to Savard, who's got as much time to do whatever he wants. And what a start. Good play by Umberger. It looked like the Rangers actually knocked it over there, but look at all that room. See, you got, and it might have hit Delzato as well, and it looked like it ticked off Delzato as well. So the shot might have gone wide, probably would have gone wide. And it hits Delzato and deflects in to make it 3-0.
So the Rangers need to change something.
They need to change something.
So the goaltending change is made. And right now, they've gotten away from that game, that strong defensive game that they had earlier in the season, where they were forcing turnovers in the neutral zone and playing a strong transition game. Right now, nothing is going right.
Oh, this is defensively, this has been a terrible period.
There's Stepan moving in and shooting. A save by McElhaney. Up into the netting it goes. 8:31 to go. First period, and Columbus with 3 goals on 13 shots. And Henrik Lundqvist, 11 minutes and 10 seconds of action.
And that is just, as hard as Lundqvist has been working. And again, Benoit Allaire has been trying to get him just to, settle down, look ahead to the next one. Forget about, the game before.
Quick shot that missed the net. That was Stepan again. Stepan's taken at least 3 shots, Joe, and missed the net.
Right.
All 3.
No, that's another problem.
Sent in by Atkinson. After it is Dubinsky against John Moore. Moore and Girardi, the defensive pair here for the Rangers. Girardi pushes it ahead to Chris Kreider. Zuccarello moves it on Tootin. Tootin wraps him up, takes him down, penalty call. Rangers get their first power play of the game. At 12:07, Fedor Tootin will go off.
Now, good job by Zuccarello by skating and then turning and continuing to move his feet. That's what drew the penalty. Here's the move, and then he going the other way, and Tootin had to stop quickly. And because of the quick move by Zuccarello, Tootin wasn't in good defensive posture, so he reached out, pulls him down, and so the Rangers with a chance here in the first, 7:53 to go.
This Rangers power play is brought to you by Volkswagen. Delzato to Girardi, save McElhaney, good shot. Boyle, Nash, and Hagelin up front with Girardi and Delzato at the points. Hagelin brings it across. He's hounded by Derek McKenzie, and the puck taken away and cleared by Dalton Prout. Back forward, Delzato. Boy, the Rangers could use a goal right here to get something going, something positive. Delzato's got room. Goes across to Nash. He shoots it. It's deflected away. Boyle got knocked down by Prout, and the puck goes by Girardi. Anisimov after it. Delzato reverses. 1:05 to go in the power play as Delzato carries. Zuccarello to his right. Zuccarello fires around the boards for Kreider. Stepan Kreider and Zuccarello on with Delzato and Richards. Puck all the way down.
And Columbus, they're doing a good job on the penalty kill just by being aggressive. They know how the nervousness that the Rangers have right now with everything handling the puck. You can see it here, and they're just staying on top of them.
Stepan carries in. Zuccarello checked by McKenzie. The puck taken away by Letestu.
And then you start getting to do too much, and now we're seeing a lot of one-on-one play on the power play, and that won't work either.
McDonough drops it back to Richards. 15 seconds to go in the power play. Richards goes deep. Dominic Moore is on. Derek Dorsett is on. Nick Foligno had it knocked away. Dorsett, the former Columbus Blue Jacket, battling. Here's a quick shot. McElhaney looked behind him. They score on the rebound. Dominic Moore. So the power play, I believe it just ended.
I think you're right.
Moore put in the rebound.
His first goal of the season. This is a good shot. Now this is good work. Hard on the forecheck, support, find the open man, get the shot. And McElhaney, as he was looking around, it was still in his equipment. He didn't realize that, and when he moved, it comes out. And then there's Dominic Moore just going to the front of the net, puts it in the empty side. So the puck was in McElhaney's equipment, and as soon as he made a move to turn to find it, it dropped down, hit the pad, and there it sat for Dominic Moore to get the Rangers on the scoreboard.
Is only his second point of the season, and as you mentioned, Joe, his first goal since rejoining the Rangers, and a big one to give the Rangers some life and some positive results on the ice. For the final seconds of the power play ticking off, Alain Vigneault had his checking line or fourth line players come out on the ice. Derek Dorsett was out there, Dominic Moore out there, and Moore cashes in.
That was a good play because it was support on the forecheck. One man there, a second man there. Now they dislodge the puck turn that into a shot, and then they get somebody going to the net, Sam, which is something they haven't had enough of.
Kept in. Richards turning backhander save. McElhaney. Rangers have picked up their shots in the last couple of minutes. Shots are now 13-12 in favor of Columbus. McElrath after the puck against Jenner. Jenner comes in with a shot, save, the rebound, another save by Talbot. Two big ones. He stopped Jenner, then he stopped Anisimov. And McElrath and Blake Como are separated. Couple of big saves by Cam Talbot. Dominic Moore with his first of the season. Rangers are on the board. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts are brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Top 10 draft picks in tonight's game. Pyatt, Nash, Johnson, Pouliot, Johansson, McElrath, Murray. And how about the guys that are out? Gabrick, Horton, Skilly, Brassard. We're not playing in tonight's game. They're out with injuries.
Gabrick's out about another week with a knee injury. Nathan Horton, as we look on, and Henrik Lundqvist, who allowed the first three. Nathan Horton is back skating and practicing with the team.
He's still a few weeks away.
He is. Yeah, he told me this morning he had all that work done on his shoulder. It was major surgery. And he said this morning it's sore. It's hurting, but he's only been lifting weights for 2 weeks.
Ryan Johansson, one of those top 10 picks. Zuccarello's shaken up, and he limps to the bench. The puck into the Columbus zone. Ryan Murray ridden to the boards by Aaron Asham. Rangers have Stepan Asham and jumped on in place of Zuccarello, and Kreider on. That shot knocked away by Talbot. Kreider looking for the puck. Girardi lifts it up and down to the zone. The stick of McElhaney. Again, Asham with forecheck pressure. Open man, John Moore. Shot deflected away. John Moore, another former Columbus player. There's Dylan McElrath with the wrister deflected wide. For the rebound, Dominic Moore. Tooten takes a hit. Rangers a little more physical here in the last couple of minutes.
Well, you said it, Sam. When they scored that goal, it gave them a little bit more life. A little more jump to their game. And that was a pretty good scoring chance, actually, for John Moore. A good effort by Nick Foligno to block it.
Coming down to 3 minutes remaining in the first period. Columbus with a 3-1 lead. Columbus has had 16 shots on goal here in the first period. Puck deflects out of play. Sunday night on MSG, the Rangers take on the Calgary Flames. Live coverage gets underway with Visa Rangers game night with Al Trotwig at 6:30. Rangers and Flames Sunday night on MSG at 7 p.m. John Giannone will call the play-by-play with Joe.
Where are you off
Tune
to?
in. Atlanta.
Atlanta.
I need to have a talk with RG3 and Mike Shanahan.
Good luck with that.
Visiting Atlanta. I've got to straighten that out.
Talk to the owner, too, Mr. Schneider. See how he's feeling these days.
Not too good. Nash firing across. Hagelin plays it deep. Prout. Got some big men on defense.
They do.
This Columbus team.
Yes.
Dalton Prout and David Savard, those are big guys.
And Jack Johnson is a physical player. He's been around. He's well over 200 pounds. And even Murray, the youngster, is about 208.
Hagelin with a shot deflected up into the netting. What do you make of Jack Johnson's chances to make the U.S. Olympic team?
I still think he's got a real good chance of making it. You know, he's played there before. He's been a fixture with USA Hockey for a long time.
That gives him an edge, I think.
And I think it does too. His experience. He's a hard-working player that can, you know, he can play physical. He can move the puck. He can play the power play for you. And you know, I think his coach probably wants him there too.
Yeah. But his coach said to us, his season has been up and down.
Like the team, he said. Yeah. So obviously he's playing pretty good hockey right now. As he told us, he said there's probably 11 or 12 defensemen that are in the mix for eight spots.
Yeah. Zuccarello back on the ice. He's okay. Como dumps it in for Columbus.
And McDonough will be a lock, so now it's down to 7 spots.
Played off the glass by Strawman. Como sends it into the Ranger zone. Ryan Murray toward the net, but wide. Cam Talbot came off the bench after Columbus had taken a 3-0 lead. And the Rangers have given up fewer chances. Takeaway by Stepan. Stepan moves in, and Anisimov gets back. Pass blocked by Anisimov. Poke loose to Stepan. Reversed into the corner. Ryan Murray with Zuccarello on him. Girardi pinching in. Zuccarello takes it back. Here's Kreider to Stepan. Saved by McElhaney. Bounces down the rebound outside. Girardi in deep. It's past him. And Como takes over. Murray with a between-the-legs pass to Anisimov.
That's confidence.
Wow. Jenner was stopped at the red line. Play goes in between the benches, and John Giannone makes the save. There we go. His save percentage is definitely increasing. Good job, John.
He was kind enough to give Jody Shelley the puck.
There you go.
Nice.
He's never seen one before, so I figured I'd share what a puck is. Yeah.
Good job, guys. Under a minute to go in the first period. Rangers down 3-1. Dorsett fires in. McElhaney way out on top of the crease. Makes the save and holds it.
How about this? 30 shots here in the first period between these two teams.
Wow.
Not the kind of defensive first period that, certainly from a Rangers standpoint, that they wanted after that being the focus of their attention and practice and films.
Boyle and McKenzie for the face-off. Boyle wins it, played by Benoit Pouliot. Pouliot against Tootin around the net. A backhander, a save, rebound goes wide by Boyle. Oh, man, Brian Boyle just can't buy one.
No, what a good play by Pouliot. Now, Pouliot was saying the other day that, now we got a little pushing and shoving. We got Johansson out there, Dorsett. And that's one thing about Dorsett when it comes to getting on the ice. And now we've got McKenzie
and Pouliot.
You know what? The Rangers need some life like this.
So Boyle pairs off with Umberger.
Now, and we saw Dorsett get into that fight with Sestito against Vancouver. He and Sestito were teammates and lived together for a while in Columbus. Now, here's the chance. I mean, what a chance. And then he tries to bank it in. After he missed the net, Boyle tries to bank it in. But this is a great effort by Pouliot. Went all the way around the net, throws it in front. Boyle was that close to making this a one-goal game, and then tries to bank it in off the goaltender, and it goes right into his glove. And so the first period ending with some fireworks. 16 shots for Columbus, 15 shots for the Rangers.
Penalties called on Dorsett and Johansson, so the teams will skate 4 aside. Unsportsmanlike conduct for each player. Rangers bring on Richards and Nash with Girardi and McDonough. 40 seconds remaining in this first period. Jack Johnson or Fedor Tootin. Tootin will play on the Russian Olympic team. Stopped by McDonough. Richards tried to sneak it through to Nash. Johnson stopped it, brings it in and shoots off the crossbar and stayed out. Oh.
That would have helped his Olympic chances.
Man, that just missed.
Yeah, that's his overall game. He can shoot the puck.
5 seconds to go in the period. Nash played across to Richards. He shoots, save McElhaney, and the rebound kept out as the period ends. Well, the Rangers picked up their game in the second half of the period, but they were down 3-0 a little over 11 minutes in.
Well, then when there was a face-off, there were 40 seconds left in the period. Columbus gets it down the ice. Jack Johnson has that chance off the crossbar. and hits actually the back pad or the back leg and stayed out. And then the Rangers come down. Richards one more chance, and in front was Ryan McDonough. And he couldn't quite get to the loose puck, and that's how the period ends.
Let's go to the game side studio. Al Troutwig standing by. Al?
Sam, coming up, the Delta Intermission Report as Dominic Moore picks a pretty good time to score his first goal of the season. We're scheduled to talk to him. Bill Pito takes us around the National Hockey League with the MSG 150, and Ron Duguay is about 10 feet away over there getting ready to analyze this first period. It's the Delta Intermission Report. A stunning first 10 minutes of this game as the Columbus Blue Jackets score, and score again. Can the Rangers come back? We'll talk about it.
Hey, Santa's going for a walk near the Garden. Welcome back to New York Rangers hockey, getting set for the second period. New York Rangers hockey is presented by Chase.
Maybe he's got some goals in that bag.
I hope so. Let's check out our Cadillac trivia question. Rick Nash led the Blue Jackets in goal scoring for 8 straight seasons. Which NHL player led his team for the most consecutive seasons? Gordie Howe?
Gordie Howe, certainly one of those. How about number 99?
That's pretty good too.
I didn't even know he had a few other guys.
I'm going to go
score.
Gordie Howe.
I'll take Gordie Howe also. Oh, there.
And the fans roar their approval.
He wasn't a bad player.
Rick Nash would certainly like to get things going. All right, second period starts 4-on-4 hockey with Johansson and Dorsett in the penalty boxes for their respective teams. Joe, what do you look for here in the second period?
Well, I look for the Rangers to tighten up defensively, first of all. They were better the second half of the first period, but I think more than anything, they've got to tighten up a little bit because they found a way to create some chances in the last half of that period.
Richards, Nash, McDonough, and Girardi for the Rangers. Anisimov and Calvert open up for Columbus.
And McElhinney's out of the game, Sam. Lower body injury. McKenna, the
Mike
backup.
McKenna.
Mike McKenna is in. He's
right.
a 30-year-old that hasn't played a heck of a lot of games in the league.
That's a surprise and a quick chance. Talbot playing deep in his net. Stops Calvert.
Boy, was that a good chance.
Calvert wide open, coming right in front.
Calvert didn't play against the Rangers last game.
No.
He had abdominal surgery.
That shot goes wide. McKenna, as you can see, the glove on the right hand. Not many goaltenders in the league, maybe 5 or 6.
I think he's number 5. And McKenna just coming off winning the award as the American Hockey League Player of the Month. He was playing down in Springfield. He's from St. Louis, 30 years old.
Was with Nashville.
Drafted by them, right?
Yeah, and this is his first game this season. He has 17 games into his NHL credit with a 4-9-1 lifetime record.
Well, we talked to him this morning, and I had some ties to St. Louis, so we spent a little time with him, and he was, more than friendly and loose and all that, but he didn't expect to be in this particular game, that's for sure.
And in our conversation with Todd Richards, we asked him how long is he going to ride McElhinney, and he said as long as the horse can go.
He didn't realize one period.
All right, well, we'll see if the Rangers can do something against Mike McKenna.
He gives Mitch Korn in Nashville, who we saw the other day, a lot of credit for helping him out.
Teams are back at full strength on the ice. Dorsett comes out with it. Dorsett on here with Hagelin. Played back by Strawman to McDonough. Hagelin, Kreider, and Dorsett the line. It looks like Hagelin is the center on this line. Now Dorsett goes off, and Asham comes on. All right, line change being completed as Johansson leaves the puck for Nick Foligno and a save by Talbot. 2:05 into the second period. The Rangers down 3-1. Catch the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. New York Rangers 2013-2014 individual game tickets are on sale now. There's a limited availability for the Calgary Flames game this Sunday. Visit NewYorkRangers.com to secure great seats today.
Rangers really good on faceoffs in that first period, winning 64%. Both Stepan and Boyle, each won 5.
Now in goal for Columbus, number 30, Mike McDonough.
Dominic Moore, Taylor Pyatt, and Aaron Ashimon for the Rangers. That pass misconnection, a race for the puck. And icing was negated. Good hustle by Mark Letestu. Well, McElrath moving the puck. Stopped by McKenzie. McElrath, a big body, and he's not afraid to use it. Dominic Moore able to send it out to Taylor Pyatt. He was slowed down by Prout after Asham. Dalton Prout hit by Pyatt. Prout moves up. Strawman against Blake Como. Delzato there. The puck taken by Anisimov. His pass blocked by Richards. Good job by Richards coming back. Now Nash. Richards, Nash, and Hagelin the line for the Rangers. Delzato's shot deflected away by Jack Johnson and out of play. 3:17 gone by. The Rangers not getting much puck possession time in the offensive zone.
No, that's the way it started the first period as well, before they were able to score a goal and get some momentum going. And for Alain Vigneault, I'm sure he's telling his team, hey, let's test this kid. This is the third string goaltender that the Rangers have played against now in the last 3 games. They need to get some shots,
And
quality shots and second chances.
They didn't do that well against the first 2.
No. So they're due, right, Sam?
Yes.
Odds are in their favor.
Matt Calvert carries. Stopped by Nash. Good play. Out to Richards. And on goal, McKenna there to play it. Right out. Stopped at the line by McDonough. Nash takes over. Swings it in front. Stopped by McKenna. Almost found its way past McKenna, but he reacted well.
Yeah, McKenna came out of the net and tried to play the puck and misfired on the original pass that came back the other way, and Nash just throws it at the net. Looks like it was deflected on the way by Richards. And McKenna able to cover up on the play. He went to St. Lawrence University, 4 years there.
Brought in by Strawman. And the shot right into the midsection of McKenna, and he holds it.
In fact, he was saying, again, when talking about Mitch Korn, the outstanding goaltender coach for Nashville, that he continues to work at his goaltending clinic every summer. He still talk a lot, still takes a lot from what he was taught and uses it.
Mitch has done a great job with young goalies.
He sure has. You look at him, he doesn't look like a goaltender, does he? Or a goaltending coach. Small in stature, but he knows his stuff.
R.J. Umberger plays it back to Ryan Murray. Murray works it down the boards, played in front, good play by Strawman. Battling Nick Foligno. Strawman able to move it up to Zuccarello. Pressure here by Columbus. Good forecheck pressure by the Blue Jackets, and they force a turnover. Deep by Umberger to Foligno. Foligno's got some tricks in his arsenal, Joe.
Yeah, you see the winning
Shots
goal?
between the legs.
Yeah, you see the winning goal he scored the other night against New Jersey? Deflected off his skate. They win at 5-4 in the last minute and a half. And, of course, his dad is an assistant coach for the Devils.
Oh.
So I said, what'd your dad have to say about that? He said he came down afterwards. The first thing he did was punch me, and then he gave me a hug.
How dare you beat us?
Yeah.
But good job, son. In the corner, Brian Boyle and Corey Trop tied up there. Letestu swings it out. And McElrath takes over. Dorsett sends in. And McKenna out to get the puck. Letestu lifts it out. Dorsett had a good hit on Nikita Nikitin. Letestu finds a man in front. Save! No, it went off the side of the net. Talbot was going to his right. And the shot went the other way, hit the outside of the net.
Oh, good chance.
Here's a chance for Boyle, and a save by McKenna. Played out in front, knocked away. Shot by McElrath, deflected away and out of play up into the netting. McElrath knew he had a good chance.
Well, McKenzie on one end, had the chance, and he was coming in from the left side, and he takes it to his backhand. That's the play you're talking about. Talbot was moving to his right, and there was all that room on the short side, but he goes off the side of the net, and then meanwhile, the Rangers come right back down. Boyle with another good scoring chance. McKenna with that save. This is just a head shaker of a start offensively for Brian Boyle.
You see Brian Boyle, he looks like he just wants to have one of those primal screams.
Well, then you know what? Then he should.
Yeah.
Why not?
Jack Johnson moves it up. 6 minutes gone by. Second period. Columbus a 3-1 lead. Matt Calvert shot blocked. The backhander over the top. Dunna took a hit from Dubinsky. Girardi battling Calvert. And it's brought out by Hagelin, taken back by Johnson. Atkinson had it deflect wide of the net. Dubinsky checked there by McDonough.
Columbus team's a good forechecking team.
They are.
They make it tough on defensemen. The Rangers defense, as soon as they get it to somebody on top of them.
Played in deep by Hagelin. Richards chases it down. That line pass. Rangers were in the middle of a line change. Nobody there. Delzato back for the puck. Long outlet to Dorsett. Tips it into the zone. Nick Foligno hit by Dorsett. Umberger chips it off the boards. Gets to it. Delzato on him. Back to Ryan Murray. His shot blocked across. Played by David Savard and a save by Talbot. 7:10 gone by second period. And Brian Boyle taking out some of that frustration on Ryan Johansson.
Umberger jumps in, as do a few of his teammates.
Rangers coming close. Boyle was stopped again.
Brian Boyle in one penalty box. Nick Foligno on the other. Here's why. Right at the end of that, there's Brian Boyle. Foligno didn't want to move. Brian Boyle said, you got to move. I'm going to help you move. Now, that was Johansson on that one. And then Foligno jumps in for his young center iceman. And Foligno and that family's never been hesitant to get involved in this type of thing. And so both Foligno and Boyle end up in the penalty box.
And similar to the earlier calls when we had a little get-together, 2 minutes each for unsportsmanlike conduct. And the teams will skate four aside.
Maybe that was part of the primal scream that you're calling for.
Just let it out, Brian. Let it out. You'll feel a whole lot better. Richards and Nash, Girardi, and John Moore on for the Rangers. Ryan Murray. Anisimov shot deflected up in the netting and play stops. If you joined us late, Rangers went down 3-0. Got one back. And Anisimov, one of the goals for Columbus. New York Rangers hockey is brought to you in part by Lenox Hill Hospital, the official hospital of the New York Rangers. Moore and Girardi.
Stepan wins another faceoff cleanly. 5-1 in the first period was Derek Stepan.
Tootin reverses to Johnson. Comes to Girardi. His shot blocked by Tootin. And the Blue Jackets come out. Henrik Lundqvist started this game for the Rangers. Gave up all 3 goals in 11 minutes and 10 seconds. Cam Talbot replaced him. And the Rangers tightened up since then. Boy, they haven't given up nearly as many chances.
No, they've been better. And that's offside. Stepan was just barely offside. A little bit of a late call. But they've been better defensively. And they had to get better defensively because the first part they gave up a 3-on-2 in the first shift, goal. And they give up a 3-on-1 against him, goal. And then the third one where they were just bad positioning in their own defensive zone. And a shot that was going to go wide hits Delzato and deflects in. And that was the end of Henrik Lundqvist's night.
Savard with a hard pass went by Atkinson. Talbot fires it around the glass. Stopped by Savard. Savard with one of the goals for Columbus. Ryan Murray moves it ahead. And Calvert, David Savard, and Artem Anisimov, the Columbus goal scorers. Dominic Moore with his first goal since January of 2012. Richards pass deflected, picked up by McDonough. Wristed toward the net, it was knocked down. And the Blue Jackets able to bring it out. Pass intended for Dubinsky.
That shot by McDonough was actually deflected by Michael Del Zotto, who had moved up in front of the net.
20 seconds to go in the 4-on-4. Del Zotto finds Pouliot. The back pass out of the zone.
Not a bad try. Pouliot is skating better in this game. Skating like he's got a little bit of tension left off them as he scored a goal the other night.
Roman with a good rush. Pouliot around the boards. Teams are back to full strength on the ice. Rangers down 3-1. With 10:40 to go, second period. The puck all the way down. And Moore picks up his stride as Foligno is chasing it after it. It's whistled for an icing. Saturday on MSG Plus, get an in-depth look into the Rangers, plus a trip around the NHL. Join Bill Pito, Dave Maloney, Ken Danico, and E.J. Raddick on Hockey Night Live, presented by Lennox Hill Hospital. That's Saturday night at 9:30 on MSG Plus. Zuccarello fires. Sharp angle. McKenna made the save and holds on as the puck was tucked underneath him.
Again, for the Rangers, they need more scoring chances. Again, they're starting off this second period slow as far as the offensive side, creating some quality chances. So McKenna gets put in the game to start this period. And he's got very little experience, even though he's a 30-year-old. And they haven't tested him as of yet.
No. Kreider leaves it for Stepan. He's checked there by Nikitin. And Corey Tropp will get it out of the zone. Sent in by Mark Letestu. McElrath under pressure, able to move it up. Stepan try to get it through on the long pass to Kreider, but that was broken up. Proud. In deep. McDonough pressured. Around to Kreider. Bounce pass. Stepan. The shot blocked. Another shot kicked away. Good save by Talbot.
Well, real good save. It looked like an easy out for the Rangers. Puck took a couple of bounces off a few players and turned into a good scoring chance for Columbus.
Stepan around to Zuccarello. He's checked by the test who gets free. Zuccarello finds a man. It's Taylor Payant. Then he shot it wide. Deflected into the corner. Columbus clears. It'll be an icing.
A couple of pretty good shifts here for the Rangers. The last two, more offensive zone time, and now this Columbus group, and they're tired. They're all bent over, leaning on their sticks. They've got to stay on the ice. And this will be, is this going to be a timeout for Columbus?
Probably.
You know what? It's a good timeout for Todd Richards. There's the head coach. And it's a smart timeout. You lead by 2. You're halfway through the game. You've got a group of 5 that's been out there under pressure for quite a while. He'll give them a chance. Meanwhile, it's, as we mentioned, Dylan McElrath, his first NHL game. He is one tough kid. He challenges McKenzie. He led the American Hockey League in penalty minutes. He said he played his first power play last game. He says the first time in 5 years they put him on the power play.
That should have been the tip that could be close to being called up.
Yeah.
Get ready to be up there because you never know what role they'll have for you.
You know, Sam, since last year, since last January when he started playing again, coming off the knee surgery, Jeff Bukaboom and him have been spent a lot of time together. And after every series of weekend games that they play, he and Jeff Bukaboom sit down and they go through every shift that he plays in those games.
Girardi's pass taken away. The coaching staff in Hartford, led by Ken Germander, that play is whistled down with a puck touch from the high stick. They'll step out for a moment. 9:20 to go in the second. 3-1 Columbus leading. The schedule is brought to you by Lexus, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Rangers. Calgary Flames here Sunday on MSG. Next Wednesday, Pittsburgh Penguins here, 8 p.m. start. That'll be on NBC Sportsnet and ESPN New York Radio. Then next Friday, we'll be back with you when the Rangers meet the Islanders, 7 p.m. on MSG. John Giannone will handle the play-by-play Sunday night with Joe. Hope you'll tune in to those games. The upcoming Rangers schedule, those are all home games. Rangers down 3-1. And the puck forced out of the zone. Stralman lost it. Jenner moves it ahead to Blake Como. And stick the side by Talbot. Dominic Moore, the Rangers goal scorer, went 58 games without a goal. And he plays that in front, looking for a tip from Taylor Pyatt. Went by him. Asham plays it, checked by Jack Johnson. Como took a hit and lifts it on the Rangers bench. And play stops. And while we have a minute, I want to thank Ryan Maltz and Jimmy Spano from Manhattan for joining us up here in the booth. They donated to the Garden of Dreams fundraiser, and they got to spend time with you and check out everything you know about hockey. They are full of knowledge now.
You sure they didn't leave?
No. They're
They were
loving
up
it.
there for like
they
2
don't want
minutes
to
and
leave
then-
now. They want to stay for the third period.
Well, we appreciate you guys being up here. It's great. You contribute to this, and it's a wonderful cause. You help out a bunch of kids that need help.
Great job. Girardi with a shot blocked, and it ping-pongs out of the zone.
We thought you guys would be able to create a few more scoring chances, though, for the Rangers while you were up here, and we're a little disappointed in that. Other than that, you've done a nice job.
They were auditioning for Good Luck Charm of the month. Stepan. There's a hit from David Savard. Put out in front by Pouliot. Here's Stepan, Nash, and Pouliot. Girardi's backhander deflected behind the net. And the puck out of the zone. Racing for it, Ryan Johansson. Cuts in, Stepan stays with him and takes it back. Good job by Stepan to stay with it. Dalton Propp back to get the puck for Columbus. 7.5 minutes to go, second period. Rangers down 3-1. Good job by Stralman. Blocked the clearing attempt. Stralman moving in. It was poked away. Johansson with Zuccarello behind him. Gets the shot off. Talbot makes the save and holds it. 7:13 to go in the second period.
Rangers have had 7 shots on goal, 6 for the Columbus Blue Jackets. There's the veteran R.J. Umberger that spent some time in Philadelphia before being traded to Columbus. And that line's been another good one. Umberger with Johansson in the middle and Nick Foligno there on the left. They were together last year.
McElrath moves up with it. Lifts it out. Stopped there by Dalton Prout. Corey Trott moves in. Plays it toward the net. Looked like Talbot got a piece of it. Talbot's done a good job since replacing Henrik Lundqvist in the first period. Mike McKenna replaced Curtis McElhinney, the starter for Columbus, to start the second period. He went out with an undisclosed injury, a lower body injury, we're told. And McKenna, in his first game this season, hasn't been tested much, but he's made the saves when he's had to. After whistle.
And Dubinsky getting involved with McElrath. I'll tell you what, every time McElrath's on the ice, and he's a kid that's still learning, Dubinsky ends up taking a penalty. Did McElrath draw the penalty? I think he did. There's McElrath. Oh, yeah, got him with the stick. Dubinsky got his stick up, catches McElrath across the chin, and then he does the right thing and skates away.
And this power play is presented by Volkswagen. Second power play of the game for the Rangers. 0 for 1. And again, a very important point for the Rangers in the game. They need to get back in. They scored their goal just after a power play expired in the first period.
Johansson, the young kid, was out there to take the face-off. He wins it. They clear it. He goes to the bench.
Stepan carries in. Stepan, Kreider, and Zuccarello with McDonough and Richards. Zuccarello to the puck. Rangers 6 for the last 24 on the power play over the last 8 games, plus this one. There's Richards. Winds up. Big drive blocked by Johnson. Richards able to play it to Stepan. Gets it back. Shovels it to Stepan, who shovels it back. McDonough. Moving down. Good pressure from Anisimov, who's got the long stick and the long reach. And Anisimov sweeps it out of the zone.
Yeah, he got help. Tootin was on one side, then Johnson came over, and Anisimov came over, so it was basically a 3-on-1 on McDonough. And Columbus won the battle.
Lead to Nash, and he's stopped by Derek McKenzie. Good play by McKenzie.
Nash hasn't had the puck much in this game.
Delzato. Richards still on. Nash, no shots on goal. And the puck cleared down. And the race for the puck, and Umberger will get there first. He's got a man open in front. That was Johansson just coming off the bench. But the pass was elevated, and they couldn't play it. Nash. Pass behind Pouliot. Icing on the Rangers. 19 seconds remaining in the Rangers power play. 4:54 to go in the second period.
This has been a discombobulated power play, is what this one has been. Missed passes, no support on the puck. As I mentioned earlier, when McDonough had it along the boards, he didn't get any help. And the aggressive penalty killing of Columbus is able to clear it. They've won some face-offs.
Delzato around the net. He's on with Girardi. Lead for Hagelin. Pulls up against Johnson. Hagelin went down. Delzato's in deep against Tootin. And the puck's out of the zone. Girardi playing it back in. Teams are back at full strength. Dubinsky out of the box, leading Johansson. Johansson pulls up behind the net. Pass in front. Nice play by Dorsett. Dorsett carries down with Taylor Pyatt. Pyatt goes to the net. Dorsett gets knocked down by Jack Johnson. Dubinsky. Dubinsky got his stick up on Strawman. And a whistle, and they called it.
Yeah, they got it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Did. The stick was way up on the back of the helmet. Dubinsky can't believe it, but he's going off. Rangers get another power play.
2 games ago against Pittsburgh, Dubinsky was thrown out of the game late in the game, and he said, I can't be like that. I can't take those types of penalties and put my team in a bad situation. Well, these are back-to-back penalties now. There's the high stick on Strawman, so Dubinsky goes right back in there, and Todd Richards has to hope that his team can do the job on the penalty kill again.
That reminds me of the Callahan penalty in the New Jersey game in overtime when he swung around with a stick.
Gotta keep it down.
He didn't mean to, but the stick was up and he hit the guy in the head. And here the Rangers get another opportunity, but Columbus wins at face-off and immediately clears. McDonough heading up ice. McDonough with Richards. And the drop pass was taken away by Letestu.
They're just, everybody's in between. They're not skating as a group. The communication is off. Guessing.
Stepan.
Look at now. He's in the corner all by himself. There wasn't another Ranger player within 30 feet of Stepan. And again, this aggressiveness of Columbus. They get in. They just send 1, 2, sometimes a third. The Rangers, you've got to have some support as a group.
What will it take, Joe? Will it take one play, one effort, one individual play?
It's got to, they just have to realize, and their power play's been pretty good this year.
Yeah.
It's been good because they're skating, they're outmanning the opposition, they're making the passes and taking the shots, and there's continual movement. And when it's not there, you see it here, the puck goes in, and now Stepan's there, and look at, there's 2 players over here, 2 players over here. No one close to giving him support, and 3 Columbus players on Stepan. That's an easy play for them.
Boyle taking the face-off. Boyle, Pouliot, and Zuccarello with Delzato and Girardi. 50 seconds to go in the power play. Boyle. Girardi toward the net. Tipped wide by Pouliot. Boyle out to Delzato. Girardi to Zuccarello. Pouliot bats it back. Shot by Delzato, hit Ryan Murray. Delzato gets it back. Here's Pouliot. Bad pass. Girardi to Pouliot, brings it in. Feeds Boyle. He shoots, save. Rebound there. Zuccarello overskated. And Johansson able to clear. Big rebound left by McKenna. Long lead. Talbot for Zuccarello. Zuccarello gets to it. To the side of the net. It's stopped. Here's Strawman. Save McKenna. The rebound cleared out. Power play is over. Rangers get 2 shots on goal. The last couple of seconds, things started to happen.
Yeah, Dominic Moore almost had another one actually on that last shot. He just missed on the rebound.
Still 3-1 Columbus. No scoring here in the second. 1:50 to go in the period. John Moore fires in. Fans trying to get a "Let's go Rangers" chant going. Moore. Intercepted by Como. Boone Jenner dumps it in. Talbot's pass blocked by Como. Swung around the boards. Jack Johnson gets to it. Moves down against Hagelin and picked up by Richards all the way across. Nick Foligno for Columbus. Checked by Moore. Foligno again. Making some moves. Fires across off the stick of Tooten, who has it back to the side of the net. Under a minute to go in the second period. Boone Jenner double team. Blake Como against Dorsett. And the Rangers come out. Richards on the move. Hagelin down the middle. Hagelin to the net, but he's picked off on the play by Fedor Tooten, who did a good job racing back with the speedy Carl Hagelin.
Yeah, his positioning was right on the mark. There's nothing Hagelin could have done to get to that puck.
McDonough's pass, missed connection, turns into an icing on the Rangers. 29.5 to go in the second.
Now, right at the end of the second power play for the Rangers in this period, here's the shot and then a long rebound, and you just see the stick. Kind of goes off the stick a little bit of Zuccarello, but then there's another stick that came in and knocked the puck away. And then just after that, that was Dominic Moore on the far side that was trying to get to the rebound and missed.
Rangers come out with a puck. Richards, Pouliot, and Nash the line here for the Rangers. Off the board, stopped by Girardi for the shot, save! The rebound cleared aside. Diving for it was Girardi, but he missed. Here's a 2-on-1 developing. Johansson's pass tipped away by McDonough. Big play. Wide open was Matt Calvert on the far side, and McDonough with the stick able to break up the odd man rush. But the period comes to an end. And the Rangers are kept off the board. They got 11 shots on Mike McKenna, but he stopped them all.
Yeah, right at the end, Girardi got a shot through. Rangers couldn't get to the rebound, and then it comes back to, here's the shot. Good save there by McKenna. And then Girardi tries to keep it alive here and probably got away with a trip there, but the 2-on-1, and then how many times have we seen McDonough make a play, an excellent defensive play with his stick? He does it again there.
Let's go down to the game side studio to Al Trautwig. Al.
Sam, I'm going to need a Fishnagels, and I'm going to need an Oh Baby in your conversation with John Davidson coming up on the New York Lottery Intermission Report. Bill Pito will take us around the NHL with the MSG 150, and Ron Duguay will break down what didn't happen for the Rangers in the second period. It's still 3-1 as we head to the New York Lottery Intermission Report. Chances, they've had a few, just not enough to mention. The frustration of Brian Boyle and the Rangers continues at Madison Square Garden tonight. Coming up.
We are back in Madison Square Garden getting set for the third period. New York Rangers hockey is presented by Chase. A little change here. Stepan on with Nash on the left.
I want to know how it feels to have a show
I'm
about
still
you.
in a state of shock. I mean,
Well, how's it feel?
it's like I can't believe it. I would say, you know.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Joe.
That's well deserved.
Hey, you're a big part of it.
You know, it's. I told him to wait till you had 50 in, but.
Yeah. Been a joyride, I'll say that much. And there's a great save by Talbot. He looked behind him, but he stopped it.
Wow. It was that close to being 4-1 in the first 30 seconds.
Johansson.
Let's get back to talking about your show.
We've got to find a way to straighten this thing out.
Yeah, no, they do it for sure.
Savard across. A shot by Ryan Murray blocked out of the zone. Richards, Kreider, and Dorsett. Once again, Alain Vigneault changing up combinations, looking for some kind of spark. Nick Foligno spins, got a backhander off that went wide. Strawman able to get it to Kreider. Dorsett for Kreider. And the puck out of the zone all the way back.
Now, Sam, they've got to create some scoring chances, and we've talked about this the last number of games. Get someone in front of the goaltender, so maybe he screened, look for some deflections, get a second chance. None of those things are happening right now for the Rangers, and these goaltenders are coming in here into Madison Square Garden, and they're having an easy time with it.
As you pointed out, third-string goaltenders.
Yeah, they're just not getting any pressure.
John Moore. He's stopped by Anisimov, who takes the puck. Moore able to get it to Brian Boyle. Boyle on here with Hagelin and Pouliot. Pouliot after the puck. Dalton Prout able to control. The test two has some room. Goes deep to pass in front off the stick of Derek McKenzie. Played by Tootin to Letestu. He's hit by Girardi. Shot by Johnson. Saved by Talbot. Talbot has been sharp.
He has been good, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He hasn't allowed a goal since he's been in. He's made 2 real good saves here in this third period. And the first one he makes is just a spectacular save. Look at all that room. Calvert tries to get it through, and Talbot gets over, gets the right pad down. Here it is again, and he has Zuccarello in front of him. And so he just gets over there in a hurry. Hard push off his left leg, and he comes up with a real good save. That happened in the first 30 seconds of this third period.
Talbot has faced 11 shots since coming into the game. In relief of Henrik Lundqvist. He gave up all 3 Columbus goals. Strawman toward the net, knocked down. And brought out by Calvert to Dubinsky.
And you know, we talked about Rick Nash in our open. Doesn't have a shot on goal in this game.
Now, what's that a result of?
Well,
Joe?
I think it's a couple of things. Again, the Rangers have had a difficult time generating scoring chances, and you have to give credit to Columbus the way they're playing. They're staying close to him. He just hasn't had the puck. Not that he's not trying or.
Oh, Talbot gave it away, and he makes a glove save. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
but Talbot he made a bad play and then he made a great play.
Wow. Has it? Thought he could make the play, and he gets right back in. Then he made it look easy, didn't he? I mean, it was a terrible play with the puck, and then just a little nonchalant glove save. Oh, boy.
He bailed himself out.
I don't know. They're due for something good to happen, I think, one of these shifts.
Girardi and McDonough paired. Pyatt against Ryan Murray. Pass in front, swept aside by Johansson. Shot by Girardi, a save by McKenna. McKenna replaced the starter Curtis McElhaney to start the second period. And he has kept the Rangers off the board. McDonough lost the stick. And they're flying. It's down on the ice in the corner. He's trying to retrieve it. He does. Savard plays it across. Murray with a shot that was blocked by Taylor Pyatt. Got him in the right hand. And he's shaking his right hand as he goes to the bench. David Savard around to Ryan Murray. 4.5 minutes in, third period. Columbus a 3-1 lead. Nice takeaway on the play by Hagelin, but then his pass was blocked. McElrath with a pass beyond Hagelin, and it's an icing on the Rangers. Now let's go down between the benches to John Giannola. John?
Well, guys, I can tell you what you guys have been talking about early in the third period, what the fans have been talking about, is exactly what the coaches told their team. I talked to Dan Lacroix right before the start of the third. He said, we told the team, we have got to test this goalie. We've got to get pucks and bodies to the net as much as possible, keep some zone time, and as he said, create some positive momentum for ourselves, which we haven't had a lot of tonight.
You know, we've seen them, thank you, John, by the way, and we've seen the Rangers, when they've been near the top of the circles, they try to make those plays for deflections. You know, they end up missing the net because they're defended. Throw it at the net. Get it on. Just throw the puck at the net. Force the goaltender to play the puck.
And part of it, I think, Joe, there's a giveaway to Richards and his shot deflected up into the netting. The coaches were saying after the game the other night that a lot of the players trying to do too much. Get back to playing a simple game.
You get a chance to get the puck on the net when you're having trouble scoring, and make more of an effort to shoot, not less. Don't try to make more plays, make fewer plays, and get as many pucks on the net as you can. And as we've talked about, get some bodies in front of the net. That's the way goals are scored in this league these days.
Stepan Zuccarello and Nash, the line put together here in the third period. Good job by Strawman stepping up. The puck out of the zone. Del Zotto's got it. Sent in and stopped by McKenna. Rangers have scored only one goal in each of the last 3 games, including this one. Del Zotto fires, stick to side by McKenna. Played by Matt Calvert, who scored the first goal of the game in the opening minute of play. Cam Atkinson pulls up against Del Zotto. Jack Johnson, the defenseman, in deep. Calvert surrounded by Rangers. The puck pop goes to Atkinson, who gets off a quick shot. Talbot makes the save. 6:16 gone by. Third period. Division standings brought to you by Kia. You've got to be in the top 3 to make the playoffs or wild card. Rangers not in either category right now. They are number 4 in the Metropolitan Division, 1 point behind Carolina. Wild card spots owned right now by Tampa Bay and Toronto. But you can see how close the standings are, and a couple of wins turns everything around.
Well, there's 48, 49 games remaining in the season, which is a lot of games, a lot of time, and it's important to stay in it, which they are because of this division. But at some point in time, you're going to have to put together a string, because I don't think 500 or a game or two over 500 is going to get you in.
Boyle, Kreider, and Pouliot the line on the ice. Good pressure by Columbus. Rangers able to clear it out. But the Blue Jackets trying to come right back are offside, and play stops. Host your holiday party in the lounges at Madison Square Garden. A spectacular new group seating and hospitality experience on the new bridge level. Visit NewYorkRangers.com or call 212-465-6080. A great place to watch a game and to have a party. Sent in and played by Dalton Prout. He's tied up there along the boards by Dominic Moore. Moore, Pyatt, and Dorsett on for the Rangers. Strawman knocked away. Good play by Johansson. Here comes an odd man rush, 3-on-1. Johansson is forced wide. Never got a shot off. Del Zotto with a good effort on Ryan Johansson. Nick Foligno to Nikita Nikitin. There's Johansson to Foligno. Prout with a wrister that's tipped into the corner. Johansson had it knocked away by Strawman. In front again. It's knocked away. And the Rangers finally come out with a puck. Dorsett got tripped up on the play, but nothing called.
I think, Sam, he lost his footing just prior to that. In fact, he's looking at his skates.
Okay.
So I think it was the right non-call.
He may have stepped on the defender's stick.
Yeah, something, but I think he went down on his own.
Nash will shake and bake, lines it in. McKenna stops it. And it's out of the zone. Rangers have not had much sustained pressure in the offensive zone.
They're not coming up the ice with any speed and making any type of plays. And even on this dump-in, I mean, they're slow to get in. They're late to get in.
Pouliot deep for Nash. McDonough steps up. Richards pass blocked. Richards battling Jack Johnson. Tootin is there off the board. Stopped by Girardi. Deep to Richards. Down to Nash. Shot deflected over the top.
They
nice
blocked
move.
a lot of shots. Pardon me, Sam.
Richards. Double teamed by both defensemen. McDonough's back pass out of the zone.
The second half of the first period, the Rangers came on and had some scoring chances, and it looked like Columbus was struggling defensively. They've been good since then.
Ryder falls down in the corner. The puck to Zuccarello. Now Kreider behind the net. Off the board, Zuccarello takes it. Arister goes into the corner. John Moore pinches in. Stepan plays it toward the front, and it's intercepted by David Savard. And the puck deflects out of play. 10:34 remaining here in the third period.
Now here's the play. Strawman falls down. This is a 3-on-1, and Johansson has a lot of times. Good play by Del Zotto. And Johansson tried to do it alone here, tried to protect the puck. He's a big man, but Del Zotto makes a real good defensive play. See Johansson's right leg come over, try to protect himself there, protect the puck, and Del Zotto worked around that and knocked the puck off his stick.
Boyle, Hagelin, and Dorsett on here. The test tube for Columbus blocked. McElrath did a good job. That's played in deep. And a penalty upcoming behind the play.
It's the Rangers.
Dorsett is
going to change it now.
Oh.
Let's see. Is it Dorsett? I believe it is. Is it both of them?
Yeah.
I believe it is.
Okay.
That was a little delay there. I thought when Columbus had it start skating out of the zone, then it was going to be against Dorsett. And then they ended up blowing the whistle and giving both these players the penalty.
Ladies and gentlemen, here
Holding in a high sticking. Dalton Prout for holding. And Derek Dorsett for high sticking. For the third time in the game, we'll have 4-on-4 hockey. Neither team has been able to take advantage during the 4-on-4.
Well, this isn't. Now, this is an opportunity for Nash. I mean, this is where Nash has to shine here. The 4-on-4, more room on the ice to maneuver. I mean, to me, has got to be the catalyst on this 4-on-4 with 10 minutes to go in the game and down by 2.
9:48, the time of the coincidental minors. Tootin goes back behind the net. Richards forechecking. Out of the zone comes Jack Johnson. 3-on-2 across. Matt Calvert cuts in. Poked away by McDonough. Richards' pass was intended for Nash, taken by Tootin. 9:40 to go, third period. Rangers down 3-1. Here is Ryan Johansson. Forced around the net by John Moore. Out to Johnson. His pass taken away and cleared out by John Moore. Rangers have Pouliot and Stepan with Del Zotto and Girardi just on. Rangers take it back. Del Zotto's shot blocked. Hits Savard.
Boy, is that a good play. Wow. Savard, who's a +3 for the Blue Jackets in this game. He made a big-time block there on the Del Zotto chance.
Zuccarello moves in with the puck. Fires across. Girardi shoots. He scores! Girardi finishes.
Now Girardi just followed it up their own end. Girardi starts the play. Del Zotto, now they all start moving up, and on the left side of your screen, what a pass that is. Zuccarello with a beautiful pass, and Girardi finds a way. Wow, what a shot. Murphy goes down to block it, and they've done a good job of blocking shots in this game. And Girardi had his head up all the way and just fired it right over the leg of Murphy into the far corner. And now the Rangers have a chance. 8:50 to go.
Still skating 4-a-side. As you saw, Girardi had gone 14 games without a goal. So the Rangers, who at one point in the game trailed 3-0, down 3-2, with 8.5 minutes to go in the third period. Del Zotto pressured in the neutral zone. Strowman goes to the other side of Hagelin. Hagelin double team, taken down by Foligno, and the puck taken away. Nick Foligno deep into the Rangers' zone. There's Strowman, and the teams are back at full strength on the ice. Out of the penalty box, Prague got a piece of Dominic Moore. Here comes Dorsett, backhander, juggled and gloved by McKenna. Girardi gets his second of the season from Zuccarello and Del Zotto at 11:07. It's 3-2 Columbus. Up it's the Foxwoods Final Five. Foxwoods, your destination for endless excitement. Our game recap is brought to you by Tri-Honda dealers. Henrik Lundqvist gave up 3 goals on 13 shots, pulled in favor of Cam Talbot, who stopped Columbus since. Artem Anisimov, the former Ranger, with a goal against his former team, and Dan Girardi, first Ranger defenseman to score a goal in the last 6 games, and he broke a 14-game drought. So now we'll see what the Rangers can do in this final 7:45. And the crowd has come alive with a Let's Go Rangers chant. McDonough to Girardi, out of the zone for Kreider. Stefan Kreider and Zuccarello on for the Rangers. There's Jack Johnson. Nice play by Zuccarello. McKenna leaves it for Johnson. And Columbus comes out. Ryan Johansson. Talbot. That was blocked. Help from Stepan. That's blocked behind the net by Foligno. And Girardi finds an opening around the boards to Stepan. All the way across for Kreider. McKenna trying to settle the puck down. Murray's pass went off of Savard, who's got it now. Just under 7 minutes to go. Dubinsky tried to settle it down. And it's whistled down for a hand pass with 6:53 to go. Time now for our Timberland Pro hard hits of the game.
Well, Derek Dorsett, every chance he gets, you know, he's going to run into someone. He gets one there behind the net, another one over on the sideboards, and then Savard, who's played a real strong game for Columbus in this one, also contributed with a hit.
Shot by Strowman was blocked, and the puck given away to Ryan Murray. And here comes Blake Como. Boone Jenner, number 38, couldn't handle it. Sent around the boards for Como. Del Zotto goes to him. Now Jenner against Strowman. Good play by Strowman. Nash turns. That went off of Pouliot. Como tried to play it. Actually wanted a Ranger to play it. Would have been a hand pass. And the Rangers able to bring it across. Long shot by Nash. Missed wide. Hagelin just off the bench. There's Girardi down deep. Hagelin to Richards. Now Hagelin behind the net. Checked by Murray. Off the skate of Dorsett. Richards got tripped up on the play. And you heard the crowd react. Backhander blocked by Ryan Murray. And Matt Calvert sends out Cam Atkinson. Atkinson after it against Girardi and John Moore. Dubinsky takes over. Out to Nikitin. Atkinson, 5:35 to go. Girardi staying with him. Atkinson with some quick moves. The Keaton shot went wide. Prout keeps it in. Dubinsky's pass knocked down. And that's whistled for a hand pass against the Blue Jackets. 5:22 to go. Stay tuned right after the game. We've got complete post-game coverage on Mercedes-Benz Rangers post-game. Al Trotwig anchors with Ron Duguay, Joe Micheletti, and Dave Maloney with their analysis. We'll hear from head coach Alain Vigneault, and we'll hear from the players as John Giannone works the locker room. All coming up on Mercedes-Benz Rangers post-game right after the game. Well,
Yeah.
we got close, within one now.
And they got to play in this end. That last shift by Columbus was a good shift. They kept the puck down on the Rangers' zone.
Stepan, Kreider, and Zuccarello on. McKenzie tried to move it. Stopped by Stepan toward the net. Went off of Prout. In the corner. Down comes Strawman. Played back to Stepan. He shoots. And it's blocked again. Corey Trop able to clear it out. And so deep by Letestu. 4:45 to go.
That's happened often in this game. The block shots by Columbus.
McDonough to Richards. Here's Nash. He hasn't had much room. Sends it in. McKenna out to play it. Tootin. Johansson sends it in. Dalvin. Around the boards, blocked by Umberger. Behind the net, Foligno. Good job by the Rangers. Combination of Girardi and Richards. Here's Foligno. Out to Tootin. Gets the shot off, blocked it in front. I don't think it got through. I think Girardi blocked it.
I agree.
Pass across, open man. Delzato moves in. Tootin is there. Richards shoots, save McKenna. Rebound, underneath McKenna. It's poked loose. Richards out to Moore. He shoots. It's blocked in front, and it's shot wide by Nash. Nash still doesn't have a shot on goal.
No.
Umberger to Johnson. Rangers got some action that time. And the play is whistled down for an icing.
Any men on the ice? Let me see. Oh, no, icing, pardon me,
Yeah.
just an icing. I wanted to make sure that those players
right.
that jumped over the bench went back to the bench. Meanwhile, here's the chance. McKenna with the save. He doesn't know where it is. Looking around. Delzato's there. He gets a piece of it. It goes behind McKenna. He still doesn't know where it is. Pouliot's looking for it. If he would have stayed on the other side, he might have seen it come through.
Boyle wins the faceoff. Boyle, Pyatt, and Dorsett on here. Round the boards. Past Girardi. Girardi goes back to get it with Boyle. Meanwhile, Columbus made a line change. 3:20 to go in the third. On the boards for Jenner. That's deflected out of play. And I thought it was deflected.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
The linesman with a definitive call, and now the faceoff will come outside the blue line. And meanwhile, here's that last chance again. See, Pouliot goes the other way, thinking, and of course at that point he couldn't see it, so he thinks it's down on the ice on the other side, which he does the right thing, going over there to try and find a loose puck. And as he goes one way, the puck goes the other.
Face-off win by Stepan. Delzato sends it in. 3:10 to go. Rangers down 3-2. Prout lifts it out of the zone. Delzato forced back by Jenner. There's Strawman. That pass tipped by Como. Delzato able to get it back. Stepan leads Zuccarello. Nikitin looks around, moves it. Taken by Anisimov. Gets it out. 2:40 to go. Here comes Delzato.
Now, short shift for that Columbus group, too.
Delzato playing it across to Nash. Girardi off the boards for Nash, who missed it. Dubinsky moves in. Picked up by Girardi, got the shot off, stopped by Talbot. Girardi, 2:10 to go in the third. Right ahead by McDonough to Pouliot. Pouliot against Jack Johnson. Johnson gets it to Atkinson off the glass. And McDonough Back for it. Johansson on him. Here's Richards. Hard around the boards. And chipped out by Umberger.
They've done a good job coming out of their zone tonight. The coaching staff went back and looked at video from last year. And when they figured out that it was all about the rush and coming out together, they worked on it, and they've been much better.
Puck was missed by McDonough. Ryan Johansson moves in. He shoots. He scores! Talbot came out, got some of it, but not all of it. And with 1:32 to go, the Blue Jackets have a 4-2 lead.
Yeah, the Rangers defense have been pressing, and McDonough goes down to try and keep the puck in, only gets a piece of it. Johansson, who missed on a 3-on-1 earlier in this period, this time decides to take the shot and right through Talbot. Talbot got a piece of it. Dubinsky and his teammates shear that one as they make it a 4-2 game with 1:32 to go.
For the 4th consecutive game, the Rangers have given up 4 goals. It's a 4-2 Columbus lead.
You put that together with the inability to score, and that's all negative stuff. Doesn't add up.
And I thought in our talks with the coaches, Joe, that we would see a tighter defensive game, but it was loose to start the game, and it cost them.
Yeah, it was. And again, it wasn't from, not working on it, not discussing it, not watching video. They did all those things. And I thought John Giannone's report right away when we went down to him the first time, and he mentioned that Alain Vigneault was going up and down the benches saying, what did we just talk about? What do we work on? And they give up the odd man rush early for a goal.
The turning point of the game is brought to you by Lexus, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Rangers.
Well, here it is. Odd man rush. And that made it 1-0 before the fans could hardly get seated. And Calvert, who has goals in 3 straight games now, scored early. That made it 1-0. They went on to add 2 more in the first period against Henrik Lundqvist. He then got pulled. And Rangers came back with 2 to make it close. But Johansson has scored to regain the 2-goal lead.
You're watching the Foxwoods Final 5. Foxwoods, your destination for endless excitement. Visit foxwoods.com now. Ryan Johansson with his 11th. It gives him a 7-game point scoring streak with 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points in the 7 games. Tootin with an assist, giving him 2 assists in the game. Rangers net is empty, down by 2 with a little over a minute to go.
Wow, no icing.
18:28 was the time of the goal. Yeah, wow. Surprised that wasn't called.
Last minute of play in the period.
They're asking why there was no icing. And now the 2 linesmen are discussing this briefly. And Alain Vigneault wondering as well. Let's see. I mean, there's the attempted play. Now here it is.
Off the boards.
Off the boards.
And the linesman immediately signaled no icing. Why would he do that?
I don't know, unless he thought that the Columbus player had a chance to get it. Didn't look like it.
Rangers 6 skaters on, down by 2. With time running out. Now this is whistled down as an icing against the Rangers. With 48.1 remaining, Ken Talbot comes back off the bench for Brandon Dubinsky. His 2nd year with the Blue Jackets.
He's having a good season.
A good return.
He's having a good season.
Yeah, he's played well.
Yeah, talk about his line mates. That line has been good with Cam Atkinson on one side, Calvert on the other.
Still takes the odd questionable penalty.
Yeah, he does. He still plays with a lot of emotion.
But he has a chance to make the U.S. Olympic team.
Sure he does.
Talk of that. Richard sends in. Talbot goes to the bench. 30 seconds to go. Rangers down by 2. Richards blocked the pass, and McKenna reached back with a glove and made a nice one-handed grab. 24.5 to go. Rangers next game Sunday night against the Calgary Flames. We're on the air at 6:30 with Visa Rangers Game Night with Al Trautwig, and then the Rangers and the Calgary Flames, who fired their General manager and assistant general manager Jay Feaster and Weisbrod were let go by the president of hockey operations, Brian Burke.
That's really surprised me.
Really?
The teams, they're rebuilding. I mean, he wasn't allowed to rebuild last year when he wanted to make a lot of trades and just start over.
And again, the disappointment continues on home ice. The Rangers' homestand has been empty thus far. No wins as they are beaten 4-2 by the Columbus Blue Jackets, 0-3-1 through 4 games of this 9-game homestand.
Well, we're seeing a lot of the same things. I mean, defensively, they made mistakes again tonight after going over those things and wanting to improve there. They still are not getting enough quality scoring chances. They're getting shots, but they're not getting quality scoring chances, and that's a problem. And as you mentioned just a while ago, Sam, they continue to give up goals. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist hasn't found his game yet. Talbot was actually pretty good when he came in, made some good saves. And third-string goaltender ends up in the net for the last 2 periods and was pretty easy for him.
I don't know if he gets the win or not.
I don't think so. It was 3-0, right?
Yeah, he came in when it was 3-1.
He gets a save.
Pretty good job by Mike McKenna. He gets congratulations from his teammates. Columbus has won 4 out of 5. We'll be back in just a moment.